Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, right? This is practically as late I can do this video, right? To still get very fresh information before August 1st. But we're gonna dive and dissect, how this month played out. And if things are looking good, if things are still on track to do very, very well. As of right now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a nice, healthy monthly candle, right? Yes, there is a little bit of a rejection to the upside, right? There is a little bit of a rejection. In fact, it's not that bad, but it's not that great. It's good. This is a good monthly candle, right? This is a good monthly candle. And we can see, ladies and gentlemen, that, from the looks of it, we are planning to sell off, right? We are planning to sell off, and we most likely will be selling off early August. Okay. But, don't be scared. Don't be scared, ladies and gentlemen, right? Because this does not look like a cycle top. Just in terms of the weekly, it does not look like a cycle top. In terms of the monthly, it does not look like a cycle top. Yes, we are still technically early in a 3 month candle, right? Because we had April, May, June, and then obviously we have July, August, September. Right, July, August, September. So we still have 2 more months in a 3 month candle. But ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I expect a little bit of a sell off of a couple thousand for Bitcoin is because of two things, right? Number one, we do have this annoying gap, annoying gap. We look at something like the daily. We can see here, ladies and gentlemen, right, when we made that Thursday to Friday pump, we left a gap at around $114,500. So very, very annoying, right? Very, very annoying. So I at least expect some type of pullback. But ladies and gentlemen, right, this would also be, pulling back to our last relevant highs for a nice retest. And of course, if we do go lower, we really shouldn't go lower than 110K. Like that is like pretty much the maximum. Like if we dip to 109K, it should be there for just a couple minutes, a few short hours. Nothing crazy, right? Nothing crazy. So, you know, this is going to be very important, right? This is going to be very, very important because we are going to be retesting on top of this, right? And if this holds as a roof, or sorry, if this holds as a floor, then ladies and gentlemen, the next few months for Bitcoin should be very bullish. Talking about going to 140K, 160, 180K even, maybe even 200K before we actually top out. You have to realize that we finally broke out of this price action after months. Okay, after months, we finally got above 100 and let's just say 110K. Okay, because yes, yes, if you count from this point over here, this was only like a 2 to 3 month sideways period before we broke out. But this whole thing over here, this counts, right? Because this counts. When we went up, we practically got to 108, 109K, right? But then after that, we sold off. We tested again. We sold off a little bit, and then we finally broke through. So we haven't really pierced above 110K, until just a couple of weeks ago. Okay, so that's the first time where we are above all these key points, above all of this price action. So this is going to be a very, very important retest for this whole cycle because two things will play out. Either number one, we retest and we continue to go up higher. Altcoin season will be delayed by another 2 to 3 more months, but we'll have, if you were supposed to make 100K this cycle, you would make 140K, right? If you were to hypothetically cash out in the same area or similar area, right? Because we do expect a bigger pump in altcoins if Bitcoin does go up an extra 20, 30, 50, 100K, right? It just makes sense logically, okay? So we are going to be monitoring that. And if we don't, ladies and gentlemen, then this is going to be the cycle top, right? This is a very, very important area as well, because not only do we have that resistance over there, but ladies and gentlemen, we are above all the previous, all the previous highs, right? All the previous highs, we are finally above it. Okay. So you can see every time we kind of touch this zone, we topped out or we sold off, right? But this time, for the first time ever, we are above it. And honestly, getting a close above 116K in the last few hours would be very, very critical. Would be very, very critical. And now, even if we go to the 3 month, right, if we want to make it super, super duper accurate, something like this, right? Something like this. It's looking good. It's technically closing above, right? It is technically closing above. I know sometimes these trend lines are a little bit tricky, right? They are a little bit tricky. Boom. But if you just get it accurate, like 95 to 99%, it's more or less still going to tell you the same story, right? And this is exactly what's happening, right? Boom. Something like this, right? It touches more this way. So for me, it is looking good. For me, it is looking good as right now. And I expect for us to really bounce off once we sell off to 114, possibly to 110K to continue going up higher and higher. If we don't, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it is what it is. That is going to be practically the cycle top. But like I said, in terms of just weekly candles, it usually doesn't end like this, right? Usually we have something kind of like this where we print lower highs and then sell off, right? Kind of like the way we had here, printed a lower high and then sold off, or usually just a straight aggressive dump, like a straight aggressive dump for 2 to 3 weeks. That breaks the structure. So yeah, for me, I am super super optimistic about these markets. Let's dive into Bitcoin dominance, right? Because people were saying altcoin season's here, altcoin season's here. But ladies and gentlemen, this was a key zone. This was a key zone. And as of right now, we're in a deciding zone. We are in a deciding zone because not only are we key zone, but we have these bottoms, but we have a higher low, which automatically indicates possible reversals. But we do have this high over here, right? We have this high, but we're struggling to get above this high. We're struggling, right? And even if, let's say, this daily candle closes like this, right, that's a lower high, which means we don't have a lot of space to go down or up, which means we have to decide soon. So that's why I said, I'm just being patient. I'm just being patient. I want to see how things play out. But obviously, if we do start crashing below 61, 60%, then ladies and gentlemen, altcoin season is going to be just around the corner. But if we do not, right, if we do not, ladies and gentlemen, then expect another potential, right? Potential rally to the upside, right? And that's going to be either option one, or this is going to be option two, where we just get to this and then we actually officially crash, right? But at the bare minimum, depending on how the close happens over the next couple of days, we will see. We should either go back up to 65% or we're going to make another leg higher to the upside before then we most likely officially crash and before altcoin season officially starts. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know what your opinion is. Let me know how you feel about these markets. As of right now, this monthly candle close looks like a rejection, right? Just based off the monthly, this looks like a rejection. So most likely, ladies and gentlemen, we will be having one more leg to the upside. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.